After the strategy failed, I altered everyone's memories. I truly made Mia become their wife, their mother. Then they started over, got married, and had children. 5 years passed. And then, suddenly, the system's familiar prompt sounded in my ear. Host, the original target has gone insane. He has recovered his memories, and he's bringing his son to find you, right now. I turned around. Paul and his son were blocking the entrance to my studio, their expressions dark and hostile. Why did you abandon us? Why does everyone say our wife, our mother, is Mia? When the system's alert went off, I was on the phone with my precious little son. Julian said that today, their teacher had taught them how to bake bread. He had secretly brought one home, wanting to give it to mommy. On the other end of the line, Jason deliberately put on an offended tone. Why didn't you save any for Dad? Dad can have some too, Julian said seriously, but mommy has to eat first. His voice was soft and childish. I couldn't help but laugh. The smile had only just reached my lips, when the familiar system prompt suddenly rang in my ear again. Warning. Warning. Target out of control. The system's voice was filled with apology. Host, I'm sorry. The original target is out of control. He has recovered his memories and is on his way to you with his son. This was indeed an error on my part. If you need it, I can arrange a death shield for you, free of charge. You can go to another world and start a new life. A death shield? 5 years ago, when I discovered that Paul had a white moonlight he could never let go of. Someone even our son wanted more than me. I had genuinely considered it. But now, I looked at the warm family photo on my phone's lock screen and shook my head. No need, I said softly. My life right now is very good. What had once felt unattainable, love itself, had become my everyday reality. I didn't want to give it up. I was a strategist. 12 years ago, I had received my mission. And arrived in this world. To Qley, to win over, the second male lead, Paul. As long as he gave up the female lead and fell in love with me, I could return to my original world. And be reborn. At the time, I had just suffered a sudden accident. My body had fallen into a vegetative state. I had no choice, no way out, except to complete the mission. The system told me Paul was an SS-level target, someone extremely difficult to move emotionally. So I tried everything. I earned a nutritionist certification. For 3 straight months, I prepared his restorative meals without repeating a single dish. When he broke his leg chasing after the female lead, I comforted him, stayed by his side, and helped him through rehabilitation. Finally, 1 year later, he proposed to me. He said meeting me was the salvation of his life. In the 2nd year of our marriage, I gave birth to our first child. I named him Theo. A wish for joy throughout the rest of his life. In the 3rd year, when the baby turned 1, Paul held my hand and said, he hoped we would grow old together, generation after generation. I thought the system had malfunctioned. That had to be why it never notified me that the mission was complete. I even thought, maybe it wouldn't be so bad to live out a happy life in this world. Until one ordinary midnight. Paul forgot to log out of WeChat on his computer. The screen displayed a message, Paul, I'm back in the country. After everything I've been through, I finally understand what I truly want. This time, can we try to get along properly? The sender was Mia. The original female lead of this world. And Paul's unattainable white moonlight. 7 years ago, she had abandoned Paul and gone abroad. He had sped after her in desperation. And ended up shattering both his legs. I stayed with him through an entire year of rehabilitation. I thought they had long since cut contact. I never expected their connection had simply flowed quietly on, like an unbroken stream. The message was sent in their childhood friends group chat. Those same brothers, who usually called me sister-in-law with so much warmth, were cheering them on inside the group. It wasn't easy, Paul. You 2 tragic lovebirds finally made it to the end. That group had existed since the early days of my marriage. I had once asked Paul to add me. He told me it was just his childhood friends. No one ever added family members. He even said I'd met all of them before. A bunch of grown men, talking about nothing worthwhile. I didn't insist. I opened the group chat. The members were indeed all people I recognized from daily life. Everyone except Mia. The group owner's profile picture was Mia herself. Her hair was pinned to one side, revealing a delicate profile. She had her head lowered, quietly copying scriptures, serene and composed. Paul's profile picture, on the other hand, was, coincidentally, a page of scripture. I had once asked him why he used a scripture as his profile picture. Wasn't it too old-fashioned? He told me it was to pray for blessings. For me and our son. A wave of sour nausea rose in my stomach. Looking at those neat, delicate characters, I felt nothing but disgust. Because of Mia's return, the group erupted in celebration for quite some time. Only after half an hour did Paul finally speak, hesitantly. Ellie has been very good to me and my family. I can't bear to hurt her. Someone asked, then do you like her? Paul replied, I guess, no. I didn't see the part about not bearing to hurt me. I didn't bother reading the reactions that followed. All I saw was that he said he didn't like me. When Theo was 4 years old, I became pregnant again. At the time, Paul was fighting his older brother for control of the company. To help him secure funding, I flew over 80,000 kilometers a week. And slept only 3 hours a day. The financing succeeded. I miscarried from overwork. In the hospital, Paul held me and said, I was the person he loved most in his life. The person he loved most. But not the person he liked. To Paul, love was responsibility. It was habit, never desire. Because there was no desire, the system never once notified me that the mission was complete. At that moment, the truth finally closed its loop. I opened their private chat. Paul cherished every conversation he had ever had with Mia. They had known each other for 15 years. Not a single message had been deleted. 7 years ago, when we got married, Paul messaged her, I'm going to marry someone else. Are you sure you're not coming back? Mia replied, I have dreams I can't give up. 6 years ago, when Theo had just been born, Paul sent her a photo of the baby. I give up. You said you didn't want children. As long as you come back, this child will be ours. Mia replied, I will treat him as my own son. After that, their conversations grew more and more frequent. For the 7 years of our marriage, every single year, Paul took our son to Australia to see her. Calling it a vacation. All their accounts followed each other. On Instagram, they looked like a loving family. My mother-in-law gave the bracelet that symbolized the Lee family's daughter-in-law to Mia. And those childhood friends who used to joke warmly about Paul and me said behind my back that I was a pitiful usurper. A cuckoo stealing another bird's nest. I laughed in anger. I asked the system if this meant my mission had failed. If I could die, escape to another world and take on a new mission. After 7 years of effort, I didn't want to end up heartbroken and hurt, only to return to being a vegetable. The system hesitated. Host, your current points are insufficient to travel to another plane. However, since we failed to notify you earlier, I do owe you an apology. It continued, I reviewed the supervisor's recent plan. Now that the second male lead has married, Mia's role as the world's primary female lead has concluded. The story in this world is essentially over. A new target will appear. If you successfully win over the new target in this world, it will still count as mission completion. However, this new target is SSS level. The difficulty will be much higher. I asked, does he have a white moonlight? An ex he can't forget? No. He's the true male lead. Someone who's walked the streets of Nan Alley. There's no woman in his heart. No woman is fine. White moonlights. Unforgettable first loves. I was sick of them. I would rather Qley a cold-hearted brute than suffer through another man haunted by ghosts of the past. I asked the system to give me a new identity and start over. Before leaving, I used my remaining points to tamper with everyone's memories in this world. I truly made Mia their wife, their daughter-in-law, their sister-in-law. The system hesitated again. Do you want to alter your son's memories as well? Yes. Not long after Paul sent that message, Theo messaged him. I heard Aunt Mia came back to the country. Dad, can Aunt Mia be my mom? She's so pretty. And knows everything. Unlike Mom, she only has a bachelor's degree. Erpang's mom next door has a master's. Father and son. One on a business trip, one at summer camp. Separated by thousands of miles, yet longing for the same woman. Grievance flooded into the night, then was swept up by flames into absurdity. I took the family photo from my wallet and lit it on fire. With the lighter still burning, I tossed it behind me. Burning that family, and their passports, to ashes. After that, I accepted a new mission from the system. And began to Qley the true male lead of this world, Jason. Jason was indeed difficult to win over. But thankfully, he had a heart. Every single increase in his affection value manifested visibly in his actions. The first time he was hunted down in the depths of the mountains, I saved him. He said, other than money, I won't repay you in any other way. Unfortunately, there was no signal in the mountains. The next day, unable to transfer money by phone, his affection value was forcibly increased by 10%. And he chopped all the firewood in my courtyard. Later, I took a bullet for him. His affection value rose by 30%. He knew perfectly well that I did it on purpose, yet he still used every resource at his disposal to expose the mastermind behind it all. When his affection value reached 80%, he proposed. He said, Ellie, I know you may have ulterior motives. I don't care. Marry me. Whatever you seek, I will make it happen. Marriage. Children. Being with someone who truly loves you. Everything felt effortless. When emotions ran high, I asked Jason why he liked me. He brushed his fingers through my hair, his gaze gentle and lingering. Because I couldn't help myself. That was the first time I understood. Liking someone means not being able to resist, not forcing yourself to endure. On the other end of the line, Jason was still asking whether I'd come home for dinner tonight. Over the past few years, I'd opened my own studio. Work grew busier and busier. My appetite got worse and worse. Only the food Jason cooked with his own hands could truly make me want to eat. I'll come back, I said. But I want crayfish. All right, he replied gently. I'll make it for you. His tone was indulgent. We lingered on the phone for a while longer before hanging up. I turned around. Paul was standing at the entrance of my studio with Theo, his gaze dark and heavy. 4 or 5 years had passed. Theo had grown taller. The look on his face was becoming more and more like Paul's. An 11-year-old boy, standing above me at the studio doorway, looked down and asked, "Mom, who were you just talking to on the phone?" Paul stood beside him, silent. He didn't stop Theo. Clearly, this was something he wanted to know as well. I locked my phone and slipped it into my bag. "This is my privacy," I said calmly. "And you, young man, you've got the wrong person. I'm not your mother." Theo clearly hadn't expected me to deny him. Shocked, he rushed forward and clung to my arm. "I didn't get it wrong. You are my mom. Mom, I missed you so much. Why won't you admit it?" As he spoke, tears welled up in his eyes. He leaned against me, clinging and whining. 5 minutes passed. I remained unmoved. His persistence even drew a trace of impatience into my expression. Finally unable to bear it anymore, Theo snatched my bag and began rummaging through it desperately, trying to find proof that I was his mother. He opened my wallet. The photo inside was no longer his. He tried unlocking my phone. The lock screen password was no longer his birthday. From the moment I decided to start over, I had erased every trace of Paul and Theo from my life. Even his chromosomes. I had the system change them to match Mia's. He couldn't find a single piece of evidence proving I was his mother. All the relatives and friends around us, even the entire world, remembered only that the Lee family's daughter-in-law was Mia. And I was nothing more than a stranger with no connection to them at all. Theo broke down and began to cry. I took my bag back and turned to look at Paul. "Sir," I said evenly, "you're the child's guardian, aren't you? Children need to be taught properly. Going through a stranger's personal belongings is not appropriate behavior. I still have things to do. Please take your son and leave." Before I could finish, Paul suddenly went mad. He clamped a hand over my mouth, his eyes red as he demanded hoarsely, "Why? Why did you abandon us? Why? Why does everyone say our wife, our mother, is Mia? Huh? There's a natural gap in physical strength between men and women." I struggled for a long time, but couldn't break free from Paul's grip. Just as I was about to bite down hard, my phone rang inside my bag. Jason and his son's playful singing poured out. "Daddy, when the sun comes out, does the moon go home?" "Right. When the stars come out, where does the sun go?" "Up in the sky. Sun, stars, and moon. We're a lucky family together." It was Lucky Family. The song our family had sung at this year's kindergarten performance. At first, I hadn't wanted to set it as my ringtone. Julian had sprawled across Rocky, threatening me. If I didn't set it, he'd take Rocky and run away from home. I wasn't worried about him. Following the male lead's logic, even when our son went out to play in the sand, there were mercenaries secretly guarding him. But Rocky was really getting old. I worried that with his old bones and legs, he'd suffer outside. When the ringtone rang, Theo, who had been crouched on the ground, stopped crying. Paul's expression also lit up with inexplicable hope. "This is Lucky Family," he said eagerly. "Ellie, you still miss us. You still miss this family, don't you? Otherwise, you wouldn't use this song as your ringtone." I rolled my eyes so hard they nearly hit the ceiling. I shook my head and slapped his hand away. "Sorry," I said coldly. "My husband and son are tone deaf. Thanks for your understanding." As I spoke, I took out my phone and answered Julian's call. "Hey, sweetheart," I said brightly. "Did you miss Mommy?" The sweetness in my voice felt fake even to me. On the other end of the line, the 5-year-old clearly froze. Thinking he'd done something terribly wrong, he asked timidly, "Mom, you know already?" I didn't mean to scare Mary with the grasshopper. Dad said fried grasshoppers taste good, so I gave her one. "What?" I snapped. "You scared a girl with a grasshopper?" Sure enough. No mother can stay gentle for more than 5 seconds. I mean, no wonder his teacher messaged me today and then unsent it. She must think my kid is hopeless. My tone turned sharp. "Put your dad on the phone. What kind of father teaches his son to give grasshoppers to a girl?" Jason didn't even have time to answer. Paul snatched my phone and smashed it onto the ground. "What, sweetheart? Husband? Ellie, your husband and your son are right here." The air froze for half a minute. The irritation drained from my face, and indifference crept back in. Once, I had smashed Paul's phone too. That was the day I discovered that his contact name for me had been changed to Ms. Ellie. At the time, father and son had just returned from Australia. Theo had caught a foreign virus and was burning with a high fever. His temperature shot up to 40 degrees Celsius. He mumbled me his name incoherently. While rubbing his stomach, I called Paul. The phone rang. Paul was in the garden, without his phone. I walked over to grab it for him and saw the incoming call display clearly, Ms. Ellie. I was Ms. Ellie. But on this phone, how could I be Ms. Ellie? Just 3 months earlier, I had still been listed as wife. My instincts told me the reason for the change was inside that phone. I picked it up and tried unlocking it. My birthday, failed. Our wedding anniversary, failed. Our son's birthday, my mother-in-law's birthday, Paul's birthday. All failed. Paul walked back inside just then. Seeing me with his phone, his brows furrowed. What are you doing? Our son caught a foreign virus, I said. The family doctor said we need to get him to the hospital immediately. Give me the phone first. Why did my contact name change? Give me the phone first. In the struggle, I slammed the phone onto the floor. Why do you take our son to Australia every year? Why can your mother go, your father go? Even your childhood friends can go. But I can't. Why did my name change to Ms. Ellie? Back then, I thought the system had malfunctioned. I had already staked my entire life on this family. 6 years of marriage. Every single year, Paul took our son to Australia on vacation, without once taking me along. The vast southern hemisphere became my forbidden land. I could negotiate in the UK, attend exhibitions in France, even do aid work in Africa. But Australia was the one place I was never allowed to go. And there was never a reason. Anxiety and confusion tore me apart. I collapsed onto the floor and sobbed. Paul walked over, looking down at me from above. Ellie, he said coldly, don't make a scene. You look ugly. How ugly was it? My thoughts snapped back. I looked at Paul, flustered, hair in disarray, fury written all over his face. Yes. He looked ugly. Years of memory disarray had taken their toll on him. His spirit was no longer what it once was. Dark circles rimmed his eyes, and his frame had shrunk by a size. Perhaps because he wanted me to recognize him, he was still wearing the suit I had custom-made for him 5 years ago. The broad shoulders that once filled it now hung empty, making him look like a scrawny chick. When he heard me say ugly, Paul's pupils contracted. He stared at me in disbelief. Ellie, what are you saying? I didn't answer. I simply signaled for security and slipped away while they restrained him. I should thank him for teaching me that not every question deserves an answer. Behind me, Paul and his son were still shouting, Ellie, did you lose your memory too? We really are a family. We really are your husband and your son. The head of security, Brother Wong, a former mercenary from Jason's ranks, slapped Paul across the face. There's something wrong with your head. When I got home, Jason was bare-chested, wearing an apron and cooking crayfish in the kitchen. Hearing me come in, he poked his head out and greeted me with a flirtatious smile. Wife's home. I made 3 flavors today. Garlic butter, salted egg yolk, and spicy. Julian trotted over to help me with my bag. They both assumed the call had cut off earlier. Because I was angry. The rich aroma of crayfish filled the air. I walked into the kitchen. Next time, don't teach our son random nonsense, I said. Back then, you ate grasshoppers because times were hard. Now pollution is bad. Don't let him upset his stomach one day. Jason nodded obediently. Got it, my angry lady. That night, Jason pressed me down on the bed and murmured against my ear, I heard someone bothered you today. My body stiffened. And no, I said. And immediately wanted to slap myself. Brother Wong was his man. The moment Paul and Theo stepped into the compound, Jason must have known. Jason teased a strand of my hair between his fingers. No? Just 2 irrelevant people, he said lightly. Are you sure, baby? I heard the younger one called you mom, and the older one called you wife. His hand tightened around my waist. He bit down on my collarbone, leaving a mark that belonged to him alone. Who were those 2? Did you have anything to do with them before? That was probably all investigated thoroughly. The second time Julian called me, Jason didn't find anything. But I lied anyway, instinctively. That lie angered him more than the truth ever could. Darkness churned beneath us. Emotions crashed and erupted in the night. He covered my mouth the way Paul once had, fingers slightly parted, leaving me able to make only broken, instinctive sounds. When the first light of dawn streamed into the bedroom, Jason bent down and nipped at my earlobe. Ellie, don't let me find out you're lying to me, he whispered. Or I don't know what I might do. Jason loved me. The system had told me so, plainly and unmistakably. His affection value for me was 99%. But 5 years had passed, and that final 1% showed no sign of budging. I didn't even know where the end was. He could give me his back without hesitation, tolerate all my affectations, even die for me if it came to that. And yet, he could never quite hand over his heart completely. As long as the progress didn't reach 100%, I couldn't leave. When I woke again the next day, Jason had already gone out on business. On the table sat my favorite strawberry milk. And a stubborn little apology note. I was wrong to bite you last night. But you shouldn't have instinctively hidden things from me. Let's call it even. I don't want to fight. I'll bring you a little cake tonight. Wife, don't be mad. At the bottom was a doodle of a tiny figure begging for mercy. One look and I knew. Julian had forced him to write it. I could practically picture it, father and son collaborating early in the morning, scratching their heads with the same helpless expressions. Yesterday's bitterness vanished at once. I folded the note away, ready to call Jason. And soothe his anxious heart. When my phone rang suddenly. A woman's voice came through the line. Both unfamiliar and strangely familiar. Hello, is this Ms. Ellie? Would it be convenient to talk? Could we meet? Unfamiliar. Because I had never spoken to her face to face. Familiar. Because in those chat records that night, I had listened to far too many of her voice messages. In the VIP private room at Family Empire, Mia was dressed in a Chanel suit, her expression gentle and composed. When she saw me arrive, she hurriedly signaled for her assistant to step forward and take my bag. Ms. Ellie, right? She said softly. I heard my husband and son went to see you yesterday. I'm truly sorry about that. These past few years, I've been so busy with work that I neglected them. It's caused their memories to become a little confused. They keep thinking their wife, their mother, is someone called Ellie. As she spoke, she poured me a cup of tea, her gaze probing. To be honest, I hope you won't laugh at me. They've mistaken so many people over the years. I have to deal with things like this several times every year. At the end of the day, it's our fault. I apologize to you on behalf of my husband and son. Porcelain cups clinked softly. I finished the cup of Imperial Dragon Well tea in one go. Fragrant, light, and refined. I knew exactly why she wanted to see me today. The moment the system told me Paul and Theo had recovered their memories, I had already guessed. As the original female lead of this world, Mia's memories were bound to loosen as well. In the dead of night, she probably dreamed of her past again and again. In those dreams, she had ambitions. Yet achieved nothing. She mistook pearls for rotten wood. Now, the identity she held, the status and wealth she possessed, all belonged to another woman. She was merely the third party. In someone else's marriage. They had done countless DNA tests, yet her husband and son still insisted that their wife and mother was someone else. Over time, even she herself began to feel unsteady. As though the Lee family's original mistress really had been named Ellie. I took a single sip of the tea and set the cup down. There's no need to apologize, I said calmly. I lost my temper yesterday as well. And had your husband and child escorted out of the compound. If there's nothing else, I'll be going now. My husband is waiting for me. You're married? Mia blurted out. Hearing that I had a husband, her days snapped shut, and she couldn't suppress the flicker of joy on her face. When did you get married? Do you have children? As she spoke, she feigned composure, lifting a hand adorned with a diamond ring, to tuck her hair behind her ear. I just felt an instant connection with Miss Ellie, she added lightly. That's why I asked a bit more. Watching her flustered movements, a sudden wave of sadness washed over me. Once upon a time, I had been just like her. Tormented by a distant husband, by a son who wanted another woman to be his mother, trapped in endless self-doubt and inner turmoil. Father and son would disappear for stretches of time, vanishing to places I knew nothing about. It felt as though, somewhere beyond my reach, they had another home. The world really does run in cycles. That forbidden land from 12 years ago had passed through time's tunnel and landed squarely on the current Mrs. Lee. Mia looked at me, hope flickering in her eyes. We got married 5 years ago, I said evenly. Our child is already 5. Hearing this, she let out a long breath of relief. The meal that followed was unusually harmonious. Mia had because of the imbalance in our power and position. That he chose to lower himself. Because he was afraid I'd feel uneasy. Afraid I'd feel lost. Inequality between men and women is common in modern family relationships. Yet he crouched down, sheathing his sharp edges, adjusting the unsteady scale that was my heart. I held him and spoke in a muffled voice. I was married before. I guessed. I even had a child with someone else. I know. Jason wrapped his arms around me. If that's what you were hiding before, then I can forgive you. If you miss that child, we can bring him to live with us. Everyone has a past. I only want your present, and your future. Then he paused. But Ellie, does your future really include me? I froze and looked up at him. His dark eyes were filled with stars and devotion. I know you're not from this world, he said quietly. I know that once your progress reaches 100%, you'll leave. Fireworks exploded in my mind. I proposed because I couldn't help myself. I have my career. You have your life. I thought that even if you left someday, I'd have no regrets. As long as you're happy. As long as you want it. As long as I have it. His hands cupped my face, rough yet gentle. I couldn't bear it anymore. One morning, I saw you and Julian sleeping peacefully. And suddenly, I didn't want to let you go. My life before had been nothing but leveling up and clearing stages. Until I met you. And finally had a home. At that moment, the system's prompt sounded. Mission complete. Progress, 100%. Host, do you wish to leave this world? Jason let out a bitter laugh. Go back, Ellie, he said softly. 5 years is enough. 1 week later, in a bustling 21st century shopping mall, I was buying clothes with 2 elderly people. Because the mission was complete, the system granted me generous material rewards. I arranged the best care facility for my parents. And purchased the safest retirement funds. That jumpy system suddenly blared another warning. Danger. Danger. World barrier breached. Host, this is bad. Your snot-nosed husband and your snot-nosed kid have torn through the world barrier to find you. Honestly. Is your system really okay if it keeps breaking like this? I turned around. Jason was standing there with a bag of crayfish. Julian was holding a small cake. Rocky had my bag clamped in his mouth. Jason's face was dark. I told you to leave, and you really left, he said. If we hadn't come looking for you, were you seriously never coming back? I rushed forward and hugged the 2 of them. And one dog, tightly, trembling. How could that be? I still had compensation from the system for a major error, I explained. It lets me go to any unoccupied world. I was planning to settle my parents first, then go find you. Julian puffed up angrily. I poked his cheek and pointed at my parents. Call them Grandpa and Grandma. Grandpa. Grandma. Jason, meeting his in-laws for the first time, looked completely at a loss. Rocky's big eyes shone as he wagged his tail furiously. In this world. I finally had a complete family.